You said you're not going to wear your sunglasses because you're not that guy, and then you did it because you are that guy.
I like having fun with you. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you finding space there to find a step and repeat. Is that a real background? Oh hell yeah! Is Jay Monahan behind it?
I bet he wishes he was.
Oh yeah. And I appreciate you finding the time to get internet. I know we're going to do audio only, so the big finale this year, Atlanta. Is it as hot as Memphis, or what's going? It's 100 degrees here in Lexington, so
it's hotter.
Yeah,
it's hotter. Where we are right now is as right before I came on, you said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm in an interesting place. I am looking out over the practice putting green and East Lake off the back of the clubhouse, and there's this really kind of wild scene going on the putting green between all the content creators for the Creator Classic and the guys like Tommy Fleetwood." And I think Tommy Fleetwood's a fan of this show because he's always around whenever we're doing the show. Either that or he practices at 3:00 on a Wednesday. I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences, but it's just really kind of a wild scene when like Good is like, high five and Matthew Pavone. It's pretty funny. Anyway.
Yeah, a lot of these players do search their name on Twitter. Let's test this theory with Tommy Fleetwood and say how much we like him as a player.
Okay.
And I think that he's one of the best non-winning players on tour, and I think he's due for one. And I'm glad he's a fan of the show.
Well, Matthew, I appreciate that sentiment, and I couldn't agree with you more. Tommy, he's further away.
No, I'm serious. But serious about Tommy. I mean, I think for someone who hasn't had ultimate success on tour, there's no one that's been more popular, and it's sort of a legendary. So there you go.
I mean, I will say this much: based upon what I'm seeing right now, if Tommy was in really good form, he would be super live this week. I mean, Xander broke through here. It's a limited field. You only got to beat 29 other guys, and his level of ball striking would really suit what I'm seeing here on property, which is a lot different than what I've seen in years past being here.
A definite viewer of the show, Max Homa, and I'm going to take credit for this, but I don't like credit or people wishing me happy birthday. But I said to him, you need to get back on Twitter. You need to get back in the fun zone again.
Yeah.
And if you do that, which he did, you'll shoot 67. Friday, Saturday, he didn't, but Sunday he shot a 67. So he's back. Felt like it was his best round in months.
Probably since Wells Fargo, at a place he's very comfortable, but it's been a while. Maybe since the Masters. When he top 5'd at the Masters, it's probably something along those lines for sure. And the driver's still not comfortable.
No,
but he managed it around.
It wasn't comfortable for a lot of people who I thought would be comfortable for. Victor Hovland, for instance, starting with the first hole, and he could not hit a fairway all week. And I know it's like Tommy Fleetwood. You just love playing Hovland because he has so many electric moments. But I'm concerned that that's going to be the case this week. So we can get into all these players, but think you texted me before the show. You talked about the changes in the course, the heat, of course, and then the speed. And I think you're frozen. No, you're not frozen now. You're good.
I'm here. Yeah.
I was like, wow, he can maintain a posture for a long time.
Yeah.
What's the difference in the course this week?
So in perfect growing conditions, it would be really hard to pull off what they did here. Right. So they basically, and everyone's seen the pictures, so I'm not going to be redundant, but they took all the grass off this property and then they replanted it. Right. Greens, fairways, approaches, rough, everything. They removed a ton of trees, and it's just not enough time. I mean, it will take at least 2 or 3 years for this place to mature. And especially when it comes to Bermuda grass, you're dealing with a lot of first of all, the greens are rock hard. Even though they sprigged them and they didn't sod them, they are still in order to grow them properly and get them to be the correct shape and everything, they have to keep them super, super hard and super, super tight, right? They're just packed density wise to the brim. And all the approach shots, the guys are going to be hitting it with long irons, are just going to be bouncing and getting deflected all over the place. Now, the approaches, the fairways are all growing in. And as such, there's no seams or anything, but the grass just is not nearly as dense as it would be if the golf course had matured for 4 or 5 years, right? So now you've got tight lies off Bermuda around these greens where the ball's sitting down because there's not enough grass to push the ball up. And you better be really, really good with your short game because, first of all, you're going to have to use it way more than you ever have here. And then the second thing is these short game shots, whether they're into the grain, against the grain, reading them, the Bermuda short game specialists have a huge advantage here this week and certainly this year. I can't speak to the future. It wasn't as big an advantage last year, but if you're not putting that as a staple when you're building your lineups, I don't know what to tell you.
That was brilliant. You were frozen the entire time. I didn't react once because you had a good frozen shot of yourself. But your audio was perfect, just to let you know. But we got all.
My head was moving.
Your audio is about 5 seconds ahead of your face. So, but Big Cat 709 says don't fuck with it. So we're not going to fuck with it. So I'm going to tell a joke, and then 10 seconds later, your face will laugh. There you go. See?
Yeah. But you heard all that.
I did.
Okay.
So the last part is if the part of the model that you cannot leave out this week, tight lies Bermuda, right?
Mm-hmm. And putting. And so here's the second consideration. If you are not normally a good Bermuda putter, this is just going to baffle you even more. I mean, everything inside of 10 feet is going to be super, super grainy. It's going to be absolutely, because they've just grown this place in. It hasn't caught yet. So, they got to let the plant kind of flourish a little bit. The blade's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit wider. It's going to be a little bit different than what they expect at this place. Now, here's the thing. This isn't me talking anyone off of Xander or anyone else that's been good here historically. The sight lines are 80% the same, right? The whole composition is relatively the same. But these little edges are what is going to make a big difference when you're building your lineups if you're taking them into consideration. If you're not, then that's where you're going to lose a stroke or two. And where we're already giving the best player in the world 10 shots, that's a lot.
Does this scream Sam Burns for you?
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, well, first of all, we got to talk about the big two at the top. Why you would take one versus the other. Correct. This screams Xander more than ever because he's a better scrambler than anybody in the field.
Yes, better.
And putter. Second, he's a great Bermuda grass putter. And he's coming in probably the best form of anyone. We know that. Coach Randy Smith he's flown in to be with Scotty. Scotty had his worst iron week in, I don't know, like a millennium, since 70s Hef. It's been a while since he's lost 6 on approach. So it's one of those things where Xander feels really, really good. He was asked the other day, they said, what do you think about the changes? He said, the place is completely different. And then the press room said, well, how do you feel about it? And he said, still says East Lake as far as I know. So you know what that means. The man's here to do business, and his ability to scramble off of all this Bermuda and putt is going to make him very, very, he's the guy. I went at Read the Line. I went across the board. I take Xander on both sides. Stroke tournament, FedEx Cup tournament, add it up, go home. That's the way I feel about it.
You said Scotty was not agitated in the press room, but
he was
done with it.
Yeah, he's done with it.
What do you mean done with it?
I think that he feels like for the third year in a row, he's going to lose. And he's been telling himself that for like 2 weeks. He's been telling the press room for that for 2 weeks. This is silly. Now we got altitude. Now we got this. Scotty loves predictability. We know that. The places he's played the worst are places like Pinehurst, where you kind of don't know what's going on. Plays great at Augusta National. Why? Because it's the most predictive golf course in the world. That's what we say in the betting content. Well, if that holds true, then what he's coming into this week, where there's going to be a lot of weird caroms and bounces off of these greens, where every par 3 is over 200 yards. They're using the up tee on 15 because it's an island green and it hasn't grown in yet. If they went to that back tee across the lake, the ball would just fly right off the green. It just wouldn't work. right?
And
Like it's that firm.
Let's not forget that he hasn't stopped since the Masters, and he had a kid in between that. And, his personal life has changed dramatically since then. And yeah, being cranky as a new, perhaps tired dad is expected.
Well, I think he really wants to win, and he knows he's not at his very best right now, and that's why he comes across a little more intense than usual. You don't hear the laugh as much. He's just really, really
he was angry last week. I posted the video. I'm on that par 3 when he went in the water. I've never seen him like that animated.
Oh yeah, that's what's happening.
I think Antonio. Yes, the question is, you may be 5 seconds behind, but I'll tell you this. Do you think Scotty really cares this week? I think Scotty really cares every week. I don't think there's a week that he doesn't care that he's in a tournament.
I think Scotty 10,000% cares, and it has nothing to do with the money. And yes, Xander cares. Like all these guys care, and it's not about the 25 million, although that's nice, but they have a chance to win against their peers in the last event of the year. We'll see Scotty at Royal Montreal and Xander, but like after that, we're not going to see those guys. Maybe like Xander at Zozo or something, but like you're not going to see these guys, right? Till Century again. So like this is it. This is the last hurrah. Everyone that's come in the press room, Shane Lowry, Xander, all of them, they've all said, I'm tired. I'm achy. I'm ready to go. I need a break, right? Like this has been a grind since the Scottish, especially the guys that played in the Olympics. They stayed over there for almost a month. Then they came back. Then they're doing 3 weeks in a row on the road. So that like basically like 8 of the last 9 weeks, these guys have been traveling. I mean, that's, I've been on the road the last 3 weeks, and 2 of the places were like insanely hot like this. It's just, it's not comfortable. There's a lot of fatigue involved. So, at the end of the day, I think that Xander's using that edge to his advantage, and Scotty certainly wants. I mean, I remember seeing Scotty. I remember coaching kids against Scotty in junior golf tournaments, national ones, AJGAs, and stuff all over the country. Scotty won 90 junior tournaments as a kid. You don't do that if you don't like winning, and if you don't like the taste, right? Like this, if this guy shows up, he is ready to roll. I can assure you that. Now, you still may get beat, and I think that he will, but. I don't think there's any loss of edge. If anything, he might be too edgy.
Yeah, I think his frustration last week, his performance last week, was something that I didn't expect. And then, but in terms of his desire to win and compete after having a baby and going to the RBC and winning, was the RBC? Yeah.
No, he didn't have the baby yet. He had the baby the week before the PGA in May.
But that showed me that, like, listen, that's his attitude here. But I think that in terms of him caring, I think Schauffele and him have comparable resumes this year, and I think that this will determine who had the best year overall. And I think that, I mean, for a lot of people,
I don't disagree with that. I think. If you really want to make this thing like the season-ending triumphant Super Bowl is what the tour is trying to market it as, and if you win the last one and he plays the guy head-to-head for 4 days and he beats him, it's tough.
Jeffrey says, are you sure he had the baby or was that his wife? We're not sure, Jeffrey, but Keith can dig into that further for you.
Yeah.
Why don't you ask that question of Scotty? Did you have the baby or did your wife?
He's right. He's right there. Okay.
He's right near you?
Jeffrey could ask him to his face.
Is that Tommy Fleetwood yelling right now in the background?
No, that's Michael Collins from SiriusXM.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
No, here's what he said. He said to
I'm
have
just
a
listening.
chance to
Yeah. Is it bothering you or is it you good?
But I want to start Sundays.
No. Be political. No. All right. So then we get, I think, the third best. I think Schauffele and Scheffler on the PGA Tour clearly 1-2 or 2-1. And then Aubert shines last week again.
Except on Sunday.
He hates Sundays.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
So do we have any consideration for him this week? I guess line this up with two. We talked about Burns, but some of the best Bermuda putters on tour in this field.
Yeah, what concerns me about Aubert isn't the Sunday thing. It's more along the lines of the short game, and it'd be tough to find a guy that's in better form other than the two at the top than Hideki. Hideki scares me this week, but who knows if he's healthy.
Scares you which way? Scares you withdraw?
Both ways. He scares me. Every question you ask me about Hideki, is he in good form? He's in great form.
Yeah.
Could he win? Yes. Could he leave tomorrow? Yes. Could he be gone right now? We don't know. Yes. Like all the above. Like that's what scares me about him. I think he's the most viable candidate to win after the big two. If you go a little further down the board, Aubert with his struggles with the short game, I would rather take somebody with a lot more odds, like Sam Burns, who can make a ton of birdies, has proven that over the last month.
He should have won. He should have won the Clubhouse last week.
I mean,
he could have.
You could have, and he's driving the ball great, like he did in the beginning of the year. He had 4 top 10s in a row. Then all of a sudden, in the spring, he went on walkabout. I call that fatherhood. He had a kid. Now that he's back to being focused on golf, Sam Burns is really good, and he's on Bermuda, 5th at St. Jude on Bermuda. Last week, 2nd, 13th at the 3M. If we're worried about driving the ball accurately this week, which you should be, the rough is really up. Then certainly Sam Burns has been putting the ball in play. If he's finishing top 15 at 3M, he's earned it there, and he's earned it since with a 5th and a 2nd. So he was 4th here last year. I think Sam Burns is. And I'm not talking about these guys with respect to winning in any other situation than the 72-hole stroke play tournament. Right? I don't think that anyone is going to beat either Scotty or Xander.
You don't. That was my question. You don't think a -4 could come back and win?
No, but maybe Hideki. Out of those 3, I think you're going to get your FedEx Cup winner. Past that and the no strokes, then that's where I really like guys like Burns.
I mean, Matsuyama had to have a sincere injury if he was in the lead at the BMW and just left. So
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I have no way of asking him, and I have no way of knowing. And in the media center, there's a number of Japanese shooters or photographers that I know personally. I end up sitting near them a lot of times, and I don't know Japanese very well, but I asked them about after Hideki left last week in Denver, and their answer was like, his back hurts. Well, it's like past that, like with the language barrier, it's like owning a pet. I don't know anything more than that. I just don't know. I wish I could ask more. Like I could find out more from anyone that was, English speaking, but these guys aren't. As far as they're just paid to cover Hideki 24/7, and then he looks great. He looks. He was out here practicing his putting. It's not comfortable to sit there in a stooped up position and to do all of that. But I just don't know. But if he's in good form with what you're going to need to do here, okay, you're going to have to put the ball in play off the tee, because if you're in the rough, you'll never hold a green. Even with a wedge in your hand, you're not holding a green. Right. You're going to have trouble holding a green from 200 yards from the fairway, because the fairways there's zoysia, so the ball sits up nice, but it's going to be tough to spin the ball. And then if you miss the greens, guys like Hideki, Xander, they have a huge advantage with their short game. Humongous advantage, because everyone's going to be chipping and putting 4 to 8 footers on Bermuda.
Doesn't it scream Fleetwood too, a little bit?
It does. It's just that Fleetwood's been kind of inconsistent. Oh! But when you and I were joking about him earlier, if Fleetwood didn't lose 87 strokes putting on Bermuda over at St. Jude, Fleetwood would be a very viable option for sure. Yeah. I mean, how about down at the bottom of the board, guys like Billy Ho and JT, great Bermuda grass putters. Great.
I love JT. JT has the 3rd, maybe 2nd best course history here if you take out Rory.
7 times, never worse than top 9.
Correct.
Pretty good. And he's a FedEx Cup champ. Pretty good.
And he played well with Max on Sunday. If that's worth anything.
So I was on the range here the other day, and they were talking with JT. It was had to be yesterday, and JT and he's talking with a couple of guys, and he's like, man, my putting's so bad. And then somebody was like, they're like, well, what were you ranked? He said, I was ranked 49th. He goes, well, there was one guy worse than you. And then the other guy that was in the conversation was like, yeah, Hideki withdrew. You were the worst. So he's got to turn that around. And in the press room, he was super positive about everything he's doing to try to do that. He said, I need to be more like Xander, take ownership of some of this stuff. Like I've relied too much on my coaches and everything. And like, I need to step up and do something. So it's good. Wow. He's saying the right things. It's good.
You said Horschel, but he's dealing with injuries too.
His back's not great, but I think that the fact that he wants badly on that President's Cup team outweighs the fact that, he'll take a couple horse pills and roll on out there. And I mean, first of all, if anything hurts, this is the best weather to be in because yeah, it is super, super hot and humid. It is Hotlanta for a reason.
The other one was M, who early on last week at the BMW, I thought, man, he's going to run away with this thing. He regressed a little bit, but he still finished well.
M is interesting to me because he does have the short game. He has all of the tools to play well here. He's done it in the past. Just why has he been so inconsistent at Wyndham? Why was he so inconsistent at St. Jude? And then he was good to start in Denver, and then he just completely faded off that leaderboard. So maybe how expensive is he?
75. Like he's cheap.
Yeah, at 75 and the people around him, I think that you're not looking for those guys to win. I think Horschel, Henley, Fleetwood, Finau's right there, and I think that Finau's short game and the fact that some people will putt worse will get him top 10. At the end of the day. So that's
you've been on the range. You've seen people. You've talked about the people who've done well. Any big names you're fading? Hovland's the big one, man. I just don't. I think this sets up as a trap for him if he performs like last week.
I'm worried about Scheffler. I'm worried about Ludwig's short game. I'm worried about Rory all around interest.
Would you say interest?
His interest level. Yep.
In PGA Tour golf right now?
Correct. Yeah.
Does the perhaps Jay Monahan big finale and his presence, does that cause some natural tension? Just no? Okay.
No, they probably won't even run into one another, and if they do, they'll be pleasant about it, but it's inconsequential. I mean, Jay's presence here is, you might as well buy a fathead and stick it on the wall. I mean, he didn't say anything today. They're not changing anything in the schedule. I mean, so if you haven't looked at the transcripts yet, or you didn't watch it, the favorite thing my favorite hypocritical moment that I could point to, and at times I've been very supportive of Jay. He's not the only one making these decisions. People are tearing him apart. There's a whole group of people there that maybe should be torn apart. He's not the only guy that's making good or bad decisions, but they talked about how they're going to be super innovative in the fall with the broadcasts, and they're going to do a traditional one on a Thursday, and they're going to do a different one on a Friday. So three different press members asked them, what will be different? Can you give us one example? And he never pointed to a specific example, but he did say, he goes, at the tour, Fridays are really important to us.
Okay.
I take issue with that, because if Fridays were really important to them, they'd have more cuts. So that's talking out of both sides of your mouth.
That's correct.
I'm only worried about our world. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Right. All the rest of that stuff. Right. Fridays should be a bigger deal to the tour, and they basically are
made them not.
Correct.
Yeah.
And no offense to the John Deere or the 3M or anything like that, but a Friday with Scotty and Xander on the cut line is what we all want on a Friday. On a Sunday, we want them head to head. On a Friday, we want to see, some of the most entertaining Tiger golf ever was when he was fighting to make the cut in the middle of that streak. You remember the PGA at Atlanta Athletic Club that Keegan Bradley, that he won down there? Tiger wasn't going to make the cut there. He went 4 under on his last 6 holes, making like bomb putts and everything, and the place was going nuts. It's just a couple of years ago at Southern Hills after the car crash on Friday when he shot 69. And you're there on property and the electricity and everything. Like Friday afternoons could be so much more to the tour, and this is the disconnect.
You don't have to tell us. We did a 3-hour cut line show.
Oh, I mean, but I talk to those people all the time, and it's still not resonating. They throw these things out because they hear them as like talking points, but they have no idea what they mean. So like to me, that was one of the areas where I'm like, hey, come on, don't say that if you don't mean it, type of thing, because we really mean it. We would really love it to have Fridays be a celebration. I mean, we would celebrate first round leaders on Thursday. We would celebrate the cut sweat on Friday. We would celebrate moving day on Saturday. And of course the Sunday sweats on Sunday, right? Like there you go. You and I just wrote the whole program for him. And yet at the same time, our world gets ignored. So give me a player. Get me off this.
Okay.
Give me off this. Give me a player.
I'll give you a player. Jay Monahan. Just kidding. Wyndham Clark.
Really good fit.
Yeah.
Really good. Really
Played
good.
Played well last week with Xander, even on Sunday.
Yeah. And he had a lot on his plate. The Pro-Am with Peyton Manning, a ton of extra stuff going on. He did very well to battle through it. The putter could have been a little bit better, but nobody really the putting was. Guys read a lot of putts wrong there as a theme.
Oh my God.
Which doesn't happen often.
No.
And it wasn't grainy and it wasn't all of that stuff. So you just wonder, it just was a tough place to putt.
Chris Kirk was leaving 10-foot putts 5 feet by, and I early, and I was like, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
It was frustrating people. It was pretty fast. I mean, do you see the firmness and the quickness this week, similar to last week?
Oh, well, the firmness is 4x over last week.
Yeah,
for sure. And on what it was on Sunday, it was not that firm at the beginning of the week. It was way more receptive. And then we never got any of the afternoon showers that we got on Tuesday and Wednesday night. It never continued that the showers were there. They were just in different pockets of the valley. But here, I mean, this practice putting green out in front of me and the greens that these guys are hitting to, the 15th greens right across the pond for me here, or East Lake. I mean, that thing is going to be an absolute brick when these guys are hitting into it. And I don't care if you're Scotty or Rory, who have the ability to hit moon balls with 7 irons. The ball's not going to stop.
Right.
And they're talking about a possibility of rain, but I just don't see it. Other than like a spot shower here or there, but it's not going to be.
It won't matter. We've had no rain in the South. It's just so dry here.
Yeah.
Does it look like Colonial with spotty grass from DMR?
Well, the spottiness is what I'm talking about, the grow in, right? But I picture this place as being a lot tighter than Colonial was. And that's why I'm so preoccupied with
Colonial.
Yeah, I mean, when the ball sits down on that tight Bermuda, because there aren't as many blades where so that's normal Bermuda. Well, right now it looks like this. When the ball gets there, it's like sitting down like this, and it's right against the sand and the turf that's below it, that loamy soil. Dude, nobody wants to play off that stuff. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Seve in your prime. You don't want to play off that stuff.
What do we do with green firmness? How does that change golf selection? Well,
I mean, you just want better players. And then, of course, you want guys that have short game.
Yep.
Because they're going to miss some. The first 20 minutes of the show.
Correct, Brandon. You should know that. You just got scolded by Keith Stewart. So this is basically the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
The same golfer at both would do very well.
Yeah, that's
but
a good
the big difference there is that the greens are the same there, but they're way more mature, so they're not going to be nearly as grainy. And the rough there is an overseed, and this is that Bermuda rough where the ball sits at the bottom, so the ball is going to come out super dead, like super knuckly. It's going to be. Yeah, this is why it really favors those 3 at the top.
Yeah,
and there was a question in there about Cantley versus Burns head to head. I just like Burns more head to head right now because I've been back in Cantley for a couple weeks and the putter just doesn't seem to be there. And it should have been there last week on bent grass and it wasn't. So coming back over to Bermuda doesn't lead me to believe on these greens that it's going to get noticeably better. in a week. He's hitting the ball great. They're both hitting the ball great. If it was a ball striking contest, I would say flip a coin. You're not going to lose, but Burns is just filling it up. He's totally filling it up.
Yes. API is more driver heavy. Yeah, it's a very long course. I'm not sure a lot of players love that course, but we get to the segment of the show called Snake Draft.
Oh boy. That's true. We only have 30 guys. Do we miss anybody?
I mean, we did the big ones, the Hovlands, the Schefflers, the Wyndham Clarks. I mean, the other question for you was Keegan Bradley and Adam Scott. Was that just a blip, right?
Oh, I think Keegan's for real. 11th last year or top 10 here last year. His ball striking is going to give him an advantage. Hitting a lot more greens than guys that are missing fairways. So, and I think Adam Scott ultimately, even though I was backing him last week, turned out to be, just a better value on the board than Colin Morikawa or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Like they just weren't going to win. I mean, he should have won that golf tournament. I mean, it just he putted in a manner with which to lose it. He definitely should have won that golf tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan wanted to give it away, but he had enough flex to not do it. Chris Kirk. I mean, Big Cat. I love Chris Kirk. Chris Kirk is so fucking consistent. I mean, he hits fairways. He's a great putter.
He's from Atlanta. He's going to be good on the agronomy. He's good in the heat. I mean, he should be very good.
Yep, he's like a Brendan Todd plus.
They're not even in the same ballpark, but they look similar. I would say Chris Kirk is more like a Harris English when Harris is playing good.
I can't describe Harris English for the life of me. No one in our Discord can. No one can. Harris English.
You don't have like one of your like quippy statements where he's like an Anderson window salesman from Boise, Idaho that, really likes French fries or something.
No, he looks like he owns a chain of Burger Kings. I don't know. He just
you're always getting confused. That's Hudson Swafford. Harris
They're
English
the same
is the other
person.
guy.
That's the same comp I've been saying for 7 years. They are the same person. Pat Kazai or Hudson Swafford, Harris English. What about Robert Streb? Describe him.
He doesn't look like those guys, but equally as vanilla.
All right. Snake Draft.
Oh, man.
Brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, Snake Draft today. We know the rules about Snake Draft.
Yes, there are no rules.
No, the rules are very well set.
You should go first this week.
Okay, so I go first. You get 2 picks.
Okay.
And just our top 5 favorite this week.
Okay, now are these with the starting strokes or without?
Yes, with the starting strokes. Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right, my number 1 is Xander Schauffele. Your turn.
My number 1 is Xander Schauffele.
Perfect. Snake Draft rules fully enforced.
My number 2 is Hideki Matsuyama.
My number 2 is Sam Burns.
My number
you got to
go again.
Is that how? Yeah, I went 1, 1, 2, 1. Yeah, because my turn. Burns 2, Fleetwood 3.
Oh, Fleetwood very high on the list there. Why now, Matt? I'm curious. Why Fleetwood so high? Why your third pick?
Well, I think he's a very accurate driver of the ball. I think he has an incredible short game, some of the best in the world. I think his putter will pick up again, and a little media razzle dazzle if he is actually watching the show. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Xander Burns Fleetwood.
So I have to go. I did 1, 2. You did 2, 3. Now I'm doing 3, 4.
That's right. Remember, we can't duplicate picks. Go ahead.
So I've gone. This is with the starting strokes. So I got to go Scotty 3, and then I'll go Sam Burns 4.
Okay. Maybe we should have done without the starting strokes. Does it change anything for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It would be a lot more interesting of a conversation.
Okay. Non-starting strokes. Let's start it again. I'll go Xander 1.
Well, no, just out of curiosity, who would have been your 4 and your 5 with the starting strokes? As long as you remember who you picked for the first three.
I don't think with the starting strokes.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it from a purely DraftKings standpoint, right? So some of these guys I think will perform well enough that I don't even think starting strokes matter for them. So my list will not change based on starting strokes. I was going to fade Scheffler anyway. I was going to fade Matsuyama anyway because of injury concerns. So my top 5 will be locked in regardless of starting strokes.
So it's basically you're not looking toward the bonus. You're basically looking completely at like bogey free rounds, streaking, eagles.
If a 6,800 guy has a tremendous amount of birdies and makes his way into the top 5 at 6,800, he's going to be optimal.
All right, so let's start over then.
Okay.
If we're going to do it that way, I thought we were doing starting strokes of who's going to win.
I did, but then it got boring because you said Scheffler, so I can't do that.
Okay, yeah. So
I'll go first in the stake draft. Remember, the rules are I start. We can't duplicate plays. Xander first. Go.
Okay, I will take Xander.
All right, you're number 2.
And number 2, I will take Sam Burns.
Okay, my number 2, Sam Burns. Here we go. So 2 Sam Burns, and 3, I'll go M.
Ooh, 3, I am going to go. I'm going to go Hideki. Ceiling's too high.
4,
I'm going to go. Oh,
He's walking up right now.
Rory.
Yes.
sickening.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Fleetwood 4. And then Justin Thomas, life in the line, is going to have a week. Another top 10. Another top 9. Who's your final pick? Is that Michael Collins? Tell him hello.
It would be, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go JT. But JT.
Who just shook your hand? Who just shook your hand?
If I get a 6th pick, though, I'm going Adam Scott all day.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind that for that price.
Yep.
So we left out Scheffler. We left out.
Did you recognize his hand?
I didn't see the hand because you have like 7 pixels on your face. So.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Who was it?
It was Adam Scott.
Was Adam Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, now if I had a 6th pick.
Yep.
My first pick's Adam Scott.
He doesn't know we're stopping at 5. Come on.
No, big fan of the show.
Yeah. I mean, first time, long time.
Yeah. Well, good to see it. Love it.
Yeah. Who did you pick for 5? JT?
JT. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, we honestly could have done a full 30 breakdown, but those would be my core 5 at this point.
Right.
No Scheffler, no Aubert, no Cantlay, no Morikawa, no Bradley,
no Hovland. No.
I'd probably do 6 Wyndham Clark.
I mean, I think Keegan, Wyndham, Adam are right there from a performance perspective, 100%.
Right.
They all hit the ball. They all are hitting it really, really good off the tee, and they're all performing around the greens. You know, I mean, push Sunday aside for a second, but you know what I'm saying. You know,
what was Adam Scott wearing? Tan?
Hang on. Tell me when you can see him.
Put him on camera.
Right there.
Oh yeah, there he is. He's wearing blue, right?
Oh, you're that far behind me?
Yeah. It's been a grind, but the chat has loved it.
All right. Well, he wanted to say hi before he sat down with Michael for Sirius. How come you don't get me guests like that on site?
I can. Why are we on Sirius? We could talk about this all day.
I mean, if anybody listened to the Open Championship Friday Cut Sweat 3-hour marathon,
it's fucking amazing.
I mean, we hit that thing like Kenyans. It's unbelievable.
Yes. All right, brother. Well, enjoy the heat. Appreciate your time. Love the content. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, just from what I'm seeing, you're going to need some ARG guys. Just get on that a little bit. Make some money this weekend and a week off, and then we'll be back for the Procore Championship, you and I. And the week after that, I'll be up in Royal Montreal for the President's Cup. So,
what's the Procore? What's that tournament name change?
Fortinet. That's the Napa.
It's Napa. Oh, I love that week. Right into football season. All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Peace.